Thanks a lot for coming in.
Good morning, happy to be here.
Something about this community appeals to you?
This is a wonderful place to live.
For Kelowna Now, this is Camp Mulgat.
And we're joined by Dean Trumbly of Thunder Boys Productions and True North Paranormal, the producers of this amazing film about the Vernon Town Theatre.
No, that's right. It's one of the projects that we started. It was a pilot for the TV show that we had envisioned in our head, and we just released it on the 21st of August to a sold-out theater, and it was incredible.
Well, what a great place to view a spooky story about a possibly haunted theater than in that very theater. What was it like to see your work shown to people who were in the place?
You know, it had a lot of meaning to me because, first of all, I'm a Vernonite. I was born and raised in Vernon, British Columbia. And as a matter of fact, the very first show I ever saw was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in the Vernon Town Theatre. So to return back as a 50-year-old man and still an Okanagan-based company to air True North Paranormal and be a show on the Town Theatre, in the Town Theatre, and dealing with a spooky subject, it was almost a surreal event for sure.
Right. So this was a one-night only event when you had it, right? But it's sold out?
Yeah, it was. I was going to be really happy for them to say we sold 100 tickets because, you know, I'm not sure. You never know on those types of things. And
right.
When we went there just literally days before it was about to air, and Jerry said that almost half of the theater had pre-sold. And then the night we were there, it was lined up and it was packed and it was sold out by 6:30 when the doors opened at 6. It was a shock. And then I felt bad because we had to turn probably another 100, 150 people away. But yeah, it was a one night, one airing only, and we had no idea that it was going to blow up the way it did.
Okay, so we'll get back to more about this particular segment about the Vernon Theatre, but you've produced half a dozen of these with this production company with a couple from Kamloops as your sort of central kind of Ghostbuster people.
Yeah, no, they were. We met John and Karina probably about three and a half years ago. And they are lifetime paranormal investigators. Karina's an empath. They had a real passion for it, and that's what we wanted. We wanted someone who had a passion for the field. And we approached them about this project, and I think all of us are kind of shocked at where it ended up. But
right.
It's kind of cool because we're an Okanagan production company, and everybody on set, whether behind cameras, in front of cameras, editing, is all Okanagan people.
Okay, so you'll bring this couple with their expertise into a place where there is some sort of notorious haunting.
Yeah.
And what do they do, and what's to see?
Well, it starts actually before the on-camera. They do background research on it. John does. He's a paranormal investigator, whereas Karina's an empath. So she's kind of kept in the dark because she does what we call a cold read. So she comes in on not where the location is, not understanding any of the history, and she's just thrown right in there to get a good read on the building as to, you know, presence and, you know, feelings and things like that. But John starts ahead of time. He does background research on it, you know, the history of the building, you know, is there any tragedies that happen, any deaths that happen, like those types of things. And then from there, when they show up on site, the first thing we do is Karina does what we call an empath walkthrough. So she goes through all the buildings and gives us a read. And the reason we do a cold read is because we want to see if it collaborates with the history and the evidence that we already know about the building. And it kind of helps for us to direct John's part, which is the actual stuff that you see on, you know, some of the popular shows, which is the investigation itself.
And in the case of that Vernon Theatre, there was a stern old theater manager that eventually passed away, and people feel that he was such a sort of a controlling force that he just could never let go.
Yes, yeah, he took, how they put it, from a few people we heard, he took a lot of pride in being known as being a real tough guy, you know, and so he wanted to run a professional theater and pack the seats, but he wanted respect for his theater. So he would go to some pretty big extremes, like even whacking kids with a hose on their, you know, if they have their feet up on the seats. Like, you respect the theater, you watch the movie, and thanks for your business.
And a woman, a patron of the theater, died during a show there one time. Did people figure that maybe she doesn't know she's dead?
Yeah, I think from the story we heard, and we have collaborated to make sure that it did happen, and it did, and it was an unfortunate event, but a couple friends came to the theater, and the one friend about halfway through the show looked over and felt that her friend was having a problem breathing because she wasn't really moving a whole lot. So she went to the existing owner, Jerry Sellers, and said, I think my friend's having a problem breathing. And by the time Jerry got there, she had no pulse. And so they think it was a massive coronary attack that, killed her very rapidly. And so the theory is that she doesn't know she's passed away. So she's still in the theater watching, trying to let people know she's there. So.
Right. So you pull in all the footage you gather. I'm sure there's a lot, and then you edit it all together, and a little bit of music and the right lighting, and it is entertainment.
For sure.
You're creating a feeling.
Yeah.
In the end, is this for people that are true believers in the paranormal, or is it for people that just want a good spook, or I guess some combination?
Yeah, for us, how I kind of look at True North Paranormal and the way that our filming style is we're not there to make the true believers even more true believers or make the skeptics more skeptics. We're there to film our experience and what we experience there. And we present it basically in a way that, here's our findings, here's stuff we can't explain, here's stuff we can explain. And then at the end of it, we kind of want the viewer to go home and make their own decision, because there's very interesting histories that we're bringing forward on it. And, there are some stuff, I'll admit, I'm the skeptic of the group. I come from a science background.
Yeah.
And, there's stuff that I can explain away easily. But within my realm of knowledge, there's stuff that I haven't been able to.
Have there been moments where the hair has stood up on the back of your neck?
Now you're going to make me say it, but yes, I've had moments that definitely have made the hair stand on the back of my neck, because deep down inside, I want to go to a place of logic, and I'm like, it's just heating pipes, or it's someone, saying this or this and that. But, deep down inside, there is those things where, and I'm not saying I have the end all of all knowledge, but I can't explain it, right? So somebody else might be able to, and that's fine. But for me, it doesn't take away from my experience.
And you were saying, and spoiler alert here, in the production of this Vernon Theater chapter, that you're recording it, and then suddenly there is nobody upstairs, but yet there was footsteps.
Want to be there?
I want to say that's Jerry coming back.
Upon hearing the footsteps, we immediately headed upstairs to investigate.
There's nobody here.
Wow!
That's insane.
Wow!
One of the things we do is we try to stick to as much study methodology principle as we can. So the first thing we do is we lock down a place. So we know exactly who's in the building and who isn't. And so we were at the town theater, we were down in the basement, and at that time, the theater manager, Haley, who is the daughter of the owner, was telling us some stories about the basement and the old tunnels that they had that interconnected stuff like the National Hotel. And all of a sudden, right above our heads, like literally right above our heads, you hear pum, pum, pum. And it was clearly a footprint pattern, right? It wasn't, creaking boards or nothing. And in the episode, you'll hear it. So we immediately run upstairs, because the first thing we're thinking is someone's broke into the theater, because we know it's locked up. And we got up there and there's no one there. And then like a half hour later, the only person with the key besides Haley was Jerry. He showed up and he was at the bank. So that's the kind of thing, like even for me as a skeptic, like, a lot of people will probably say, oh, the footsteps are added in. Well, they weren't. And I can't explain it. It definitely was not creaking wood, because there's no way heating and settling would make a footprint pattern. And you'll hear it in the episode.
Pretty neat. So, it's unfortunate I wasn't able to see that presentation in the theater, but there's another chance.
Yes, there is. Like I said, we had to turn away a lot of people, and I know the theater manager has indicated to us that they've been getting a ton of messages of people saying, when's it going to air next? We've been getting a ton of messages. So we've talked with Jerry. They're going to re-air another episode, or another airing of the town theater piece in September. We don't know the date yet. He's got to look at his scheduling, but we will announce it and make sure that happens.
So that's something to watch for.
Yep.
And in the meantime, your crew is always on the lookout for locations around the interior, primarily, where there could be some sort of ghost activity.
Yeah, well, originally we were just the interior, but now with the production upscaling, this summer we did go to Winnipeg. We filmed 3 very well-known locations, including Fort Garry Room 202, which is considered the most haunted location in Canada. And we're planning an Alberta one, but some of the stuff that might be of interest is we're talks right now with the Quesnel Museum. They have what's called Mandy the doll, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted dolls in the world. It has a huge history to it that goes back to the late 1800s. So we're trying to look at, filming that. Also maybe the Langham building down in the Kootenays as well. So we're going to try keeping it BC, mostly, but at the end of the day, we have to produce 12 episodes a year, so we're going to stretch our travel legs for sure.
All right, well, it sounds like you're going to have a lot of fun in the process.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling us about it, Dean Trumbly.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Kelowna Now.